So, today I'm going to talk about a subject called failure. When I was 50 and I transitioned and I was foolish because people said, "You are being foolish. Why don't you wait for 10 more years and then you can do whatever you want? Because by the time you'll be 60, you can chase all the dreams that you want. You can do whatever you want to do." Why at the age of 50? Because after 50, it is not easy to find a job. And what if you fail? And yes, this fear was there in me. What if I fail? I was co founding a startup. I got out from a steady corporate job, a big company. I could have shifted a company, right? Why get into a startup, into a space completely that was completely new to me? Digital payments was just happening in India. And to get into this new space and give up all the perks that I had to, get out of my comfort zone and, do something absolutely new. And I got into it knowing that this could fail. Yes, there was big dreams that we would build something big and it could fail, and it happened. Sometime later, few years later, the multiple pivots that we did, money did run out, and I had to begin from the scratch, from the drawing board again. I had to go back, and I'm going to share with you this journey of going back, this failure. If somebody tells you that it's always going to be rosy, chasing your dreams, it seems so beautiful, it's so nice that it's all going to just happen. No, sorry, there will be failures. When you pick up something new, like when you pick up cycling, you are going to fall, right? You can't learn balance without falling. It's the same with entrepreneurship. The core element of entrepreneurship is this resilience that you build. A good entrepreneur learns to build this resilience of getting up from falling down. Easier said than done. When this happened, actually, the first thing, I did not know where to go in the morning. The two things that get hit very badly. The first is your ego. The ego gets hit that, how the hell could I have failed? That ego is the first thing. You start feeling, you shrink with that kind of a feeling. Then the second thing is the fear that starts hitting you. My God, how do I pay the bills? How do I handle things? There are things to be done. So there is fear and there is this ego that's getting hit. Both are crippling you down. This happens when you face failure. This is exactly what happened with me. But then what I did the next morning, I got up and I said, where the hell do I go? I signed myself into a co-working space because I needed a place to go. Because at least I move out, I do something, I take some action. If I just sit down and brood and if I shrink, this is not going to take me anywhere. It's going to pull me down. Second thing was I found a friend and a mentor. And I just, would go and meet these people and share what was going on. So constantly I was, sharing my journey. Very important that because this is a lonely journey. If you find somebody who's going to pull you down further, please run away. You find somebody who's going to pick you up, who's going to, listen to you and who is perhaps going to give you some thoughts and some ideas. So you have this sounding board, somebody who's there. So I picked this up and then I started reaching out. And one thing I was warned again, this I remember from my very first time when I started, was that, you'll find that people will stop picking up your calls. Some of the people whom you think are your best friends will stop picking up your calls. And exactly that is what happens. That's what happened. The people I thought, and I don't hold them, I don't have any grudges against them because obviously everybody has their own life, their own agendas. Nobody owes anyone anything. And maybe I did not fit into their priorities or whatever. And so there were a few people who I thought would, be there for support, stop picking up the calls. This also happened and this also will happen. And then from there, I kept on reaching out, and there will also be good people. At the same time, you'll find that there are people who are going to be there to support you. I got this one person and I'm thankful to that person. He gave me that first break. He first gave me a small project, said, do this. Let's see how it goes. It worked out well. Then he gave me something bigger. And so that was my starting point that started building my confidence. So find something that you will reach out and whatever you're getting, the first thing you pick up, because that starts building your confidence. Your first client is your big confidence builder. You know that you are on the right path. You're doing something right that you're getting here. And from there was the other client and there was a third client and there was, all that was happening. At the same time, this was the time I started sharing on social media. Just like, I just started sharing. I not with an agenda, not with anything. I was sharing my experiences on LinkedIn, and slowly my tribe started increasing on LinkedIn. Went on to 30,000 plus today, 30,000 plus more people follow me. But I'm not saying this again out of arrogance. The point is, I kept on sharing and giving freely. And there was no agenda in my mind that this is the reason why I'm doing this. This is this kind of thing. So what I tell people is, another big thing that I have picked up is get up, dress up. Get up, dress up, and then show up. You have to do that every day. Get up, dress up, show up every day. Then what happened? COVID hit. COVID, when it happened, you all know. And here it is that you're already beginning from the scratch, and here is COVID. And luckily I had this one client going. And what do? And I had this idea that I want to make films on good. And I was again being foolish, right? But I had this idea, everything is so gloomy. Why are people not talking about good things? I wanted to do something about people who are making a difference in our society. I wanted to tell their films. I had never made films myself personally. I didn't have the budgets to make films. I didn't have a team to make the films. Nothing was there. But I had this idea sitting at home in the deep COVID. I just wrote a mail to a few people, and I got a support from people saying, Sanjay, it looks like a good idea. Go ahead, we'll support you. And then the funds happened, and the team happened, and we learned to make those films. So here was again another beautiful learning, was that to do anything, start the action. You have an idea here, you have something sitting here, but most people will just sit with that idea. The next step is you take that idea and you put it into action. I've done this again and again and again. I published 5 books just like that. I had an idea. I had something in my mind. I wanted to do something, and I could just sit with it and say, someday, better time, I will do it. I just actioned it. I just picked up my laptop and started punching away, and I started writing, and that's how the books happened. So I wanted to build community. The same thing. It's the same idea. Act on your ideas. Don't sit down. I could have, grumpled with that ego being hit, that, why the hell did, this thing do not work out, been with the fear and, shrunk, because that fear can shrink you down. It can shrink you down. The thing is, how do you pick yourself up? And that's the lesson of entrepreneurship that I have learned. That's the biggest gift that I have got, is the ability to fall down, and then from that fall to get up. I have lost clients. I have lost partners. People whom I thought will be on this journey on something that we are building have suddenly said, no, sorry, we are moving because of whatever reasons. Again, I don't hold anything against anyone. Everybody has their own agendas, and that you be ready for it. There are various learnings that are going to happen. I have learned things where, you have to do everything yourself, right? You are the marketing guy, you are the sales guy, you are the peon and the clerk and the administrator and the accountant in that organization. If you have to do that, those things you will learn. But imagine how much you are growing and learning with this experience. So failure has not mean something that has pulled me down. Failure has taught me lessons. There are lessons of how do I do things. There are lessons, there are skills that I picked up. Even the first venture which I did, finally we were able to find a buyer, for our venture. But the point is, I learned even in that venture, that's something that helped me later on in my career. Everything, the films that I made taught me how to tell storytelling through films. Everything that I did. So even if you are volunteering, if you are doing something for free, just do it, because don't just wait for things to happen for you. Unless you don't act, unless you don't get out, unless you don't reach out to people, your things are not going to move. Failure is not something to be afraid of. Yes, it feels very bad. Nobody wants a failure. Everybody wants to succeed. But the point is, unless you don't take the risk, unless you're not going to fail, and you are going to fail multiple times before you're going to learn to balance on this cycle. The same thing is true for entrepreneurship. You are going to face that. So this is my lesson from the failures, that yes, you will shrink. There's a possibility that for a period of time it kind of shrinks you down, but at the same time the failures are there to teach you a lesson. You learn something, and the most powerful thing you learn, and you are going to need this skill in the future. Every individual, I would say, should learn this art of entrepreneurship. Every person, whether you are in a job, whether you are not in a job, whether you're trying to do something, whether you're freelancing, this thing of a failure is going to be your best teacher. Failure can stop you, and failure can push you to do something which is outstanding. When Steve Jobs failed the first time at Apple and he went to Pixar, well, you know what happened when he came back? He changed Apple and he changed the world. So, and he said in one of his speeches, you cannot connect the dots forward. You can only connect the dots backward. Today, when I look back, every failure has been the step to my next success. So this is what I want to leave you with. What are your thoughts on failure? Do you fear failure? And does it stop you from chasing your dreams? Do share your thoughts. I always go through my comments section, and I'm very keen to know that. And please share this with anybody who you think is going to help, whoever is on whichever kind of journey. This is a message from somebody who has experienced failure after the age of 50, and then, learned how to get out of that space. This is the video to share that.